to bring everybody up to speed, just in case you don't know, what best Zelda ever is. This is like my baby back from my writing days on Zelda Dungeon. We started it in 2017 and it's still going strong. It's a aggregate ranking of every staff member on Zelda Dungeon's personal list of their least favorite Zelda game to their favorite Zelda game. We let people decide what makes a good Zelda game and what makes a bad Zelda game, and we leave it up to them. We also let people kind of interpret what their favorite version of a game is. So, for example, a game like Wind Waker has the standard game, but it also has the Wind Waker HD, which has made a lot of different improvements. We tell people just rank the Wind Waker. If that means to you rank Wind Waker HD, okay. If that means to you just rank the original Wind Waker, okay. And if that means to you rank some kind of combination of both, maybe some pros of the HD and some negatives of the first one, okay. We leave that up to people. Same thing for a game like Link's Awakening. Everything's just kind of combined together. So you've got the original, DX in 2019, all going on. What happens is that all of these different staff members submit their list to our editor-in-chief, Rod Lloyd. And Rod will take those lists, and trust me, this is a painstaking process. Mm-hmm. And he will assign 1 point to the the last place game. He will then assign 2 points to the second last place game, 3 points to the third last place game, etc., up until we get to the best Zelda. So number 1 on that person's list. Now, if that person has played every single Zelda game, and we said that there's 24 Zelda games being ranked this year, number 1 gets 24 points. So a whopping amount of points. Now, let's just say that that person has only played 20 games and only ranked 20 games. And maybe they're missing 4 swords and the oracles or something like that. The number 1 ranked game is going to get 20 points rather than 24 points, just to incentivize people to play Zelda games. You know, play a little bit more Zelda games, and your list has more weight attached to it. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of different opinions, and we take all of that data, we add all those points up, and we come up with a master best Zelda ever list. So there we go. I'm excited.
Like, it's incredible. I haven't been a part of the point system, but I have been a part of the writing and the editing of this article. Rod said that it was 15K words this year, 15K plus words. And like it's like that every year. And I remember being in the trenches helping you edit this article in past years, and it's massive. Like not only is there the ranking part, but like the writers also contribute like little tidbits of how they feel about where the game was placed in the ranking. So kind of like what we're gonna do in the show, the writers also do in the article. So if you're like interested to hear what the writers also feel about this list, go read that article, because a lot of work, blood, sweat, and tears has been put into this project, and it's awesome every year.
It is, yeah, and we'll try and read some of the quotes that stick out, but we're not going to be able to do it justice. So you're going to have to go and read this. It's on ZeldaDungeon.net. It's the big article right on the front page. It's pinned on the side of the website over on the right. This is a 15K word monster. I think years past we topped 20K. Like it's a beefy, meaty list, and a lot of stuff, a lot of work, a lot of sweat goes into it, as Al said. So go and check it out. But that being said, I think that's the rules of engagement here. Let's start off with ranking this best Zelda ever list and see what we agree with and disagree with. And that being said, Al, I guess we should just get started with the last place Zelda game.
Let's do it. It's not hard to guess what it is.
Coming in at number 24 this year, the last place game is The Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes. As it should be. This is my last place game.
I mean, okay, this has severely gone down my list in recent years. It used to be higher because I had recency bias of playing it with friends, but like I love this game, but it's just not the best. And so I do think it kind of fits at the bottom of the list.
I remember last year, actually, or maybe it was a year before, I thought that the most egregious thing on the list, like the thing that just irked me the most, was that Triforce Heroes was in second last spot instead of last spot. And there were some things I hated on the list. Like I hated a lot of stuff on the list, but I was like, that makes me sick. That Triforce Heroes is not in last place. And you know what? I actually have to say, like, I feel like I'm warming up to Triforce Heroes, like the slightest little bit. You know, it's been enough time. I'm just like, whatever. It was a swing and a miss, but it just, I can't say this about any other Zelda game, but I think it's a bad game. With fun moments, but I think as a general game experience, as particularly single player, maybe I'll just say that single player, it's a bad game.
Yeah, I think so. I think single player, I can agree with that statement because with multiplayer, it's actually pretty fun. Like, there's some really fun moments. There's some fun puzzles.
It can be fun.
The bosses are really fun. The the mini bosses are a lot of fun. I think it's an overall good time. I like when we're at the marathon and we get to mess with each other and throw each other off cliffs. I think that's fun. But I think I agree. Like, when it's single player, it's just so tedious. It's so, like, the little doppelgangers are just dead, and, like, it's not fun to play by yourself. It's just not. So I think I would agree with that statement. But aside from that, in multiplayer, it is a good game. It's a good Zelda game. It's just not. It really is the lowest of the crop here.
I think in multiplayer, it's like, it's a passable Zelda game, like, which does have some fun moments. Like the fidget spinner boss, I think is actually quite fun. There's some other parts of the game that I think are quite good, but yeah, this one for me just always sticks out as kind of like a tarnish almost on the Zelda name, because I would have never said, well, and I know it sounds harsh, but. And I don't mean to, like, if you're out there and you love Triforce Heroes, like, that's awesome. I'm glad for you. But I just, like, for me, it's like the Zelda name was so synonymous with quality that to have a bad game come out was, like, I feel like I almost took it personally, and I was like, man, I don't like, and I hated the gimmick of the game too, which also didn't help. So, yeah, that's last place for me by a country mile, I have to say. Yeah. Let's move on. Let's talk about the next game on the list here. And by the way, where did you rank it on your list?
22.
22. Okay, so not quite dead last, but not quite challenging for the top spot either. Right. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's move on. Our next entry on the best Zelda ever list, I think it's a little bit low, but we have Legend of Zelda 4 Swords. This game is one that often ranks fairly low on the list. It actually, last year it was 23rd, which would have put it in last place because there was only 23 games last year. I think it's a little bit low. I think that this game has more to offer. I think that, like, when we played it, it's fun. Like, pretty much everything that we could say about Triforce Heroes, almost you could say about this. Like, it's really fun to play with friends. You can't really play it solo, so I mean, you don't even have that option, which frankly is what Triforce Heroes should have done. For a long time, the problem was accessibility, but now that you could play it online, I was hoping that we might see this game creep up a little bit, but alas, it's still at the bottom of the list. And I mean, I get it. Like, Four Swords Adventures is definitely an improvement in every way, but I would have put this above a few other games. On my own personal list, I had it at 19.
I think that's okay. I think that one of the things that I believe it was Emmy on the writing team said that this game, like, we have to see it for what it is. It's not like a fully realized, fully fledged Zelda game, and therefore, to me, it doesn't, like, really, I don't know, like, meet up with a lot of Zelda games on my list. Personally, I do think it's a fun time. I do think it kind of introduced us to multiplayer in Zelda. I do think it kind of created a good foundation for what we got from Four Swords Adventures. But, like, going back to that thing where it's not like a fully realized Zelda game, it's pretty quick experience. It's pretty, like, it's just like a little, you have a couple hours, let's play it. I don't really see it as like a fully fledged Zelda game, so I ranked it number 23 on my list.
Well, I get that. I think that that's fair. My thought is I'd rather take a good, short, almost quasi-demo Zelda game over a bad Zelda game.
Okay.
I do take umbrage with Emmy's quote, though. Four Swords is aged about as well as expired milk in a desert. I don't think...
Yeah, that's a little bit harsh.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that this game is perfectly playable. It's perfectly fun. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just old. But nevertheless, it's over at number 23. Let's continue on our list here. Number 22 is Hyrule Warriors. usually does rank pretty low, although it actually fell a couple spots this year. It was ranked number 19 last year on the list. I had it ranked at number 23 on my list personally. The thing is, like, a lot of these spin-off games, like Cadence and Hyrule Warriors and stuff like that, they kind of live and die off of, like, if you like the genre that they spin off into, right? And I don't like this genre, I have to say. But I will say, I think Age of Calamity does it better. So I think that just makes this game... I don't know, it just makes it seem almost a little bit worse to me, because, like, it's in a genre I don't like, but there is a game that also does it that I like significantly better. So it makes this one just kind of a little, I don't know, a little bit worse for me. So I had this ranked pretty low. It was just above Triforce Heroes at number 23.
Okay. I have this, when I was reviewing my lists yesterday, like all of them from 2017, I had this really high back in 2017. I think because I really enjoyed it. I was like really grinding this game from about 2015 on. So I really liked it at the time, but it's kind of like really creeped down on my list just because maybe the genre, I'll never pick it up again.
Yeah.
And I also think maybe Age of Calamity, even though I like it better, Age of Calamity kind of put like a bad taste in my mouth. So I just am like shying away from the Warriors like genre. So it's now at like 18 on my list, and I have a feeling it'll keep getting lower, to be honest. But I think you're right. It definitely has to do with like if you enjoy playing that genre or that style of game at all, because Cadence is also low on my list, only because not because it's a bad game, but just because I don't really enjoy the rhythm part of it, you know?
Yeah.
So I have it at 18. I'm pretty sure it'll get lower in the coming years.
Yeah, which is too bad. You know, I don't think maybe we'll save this for when we get to age. Whatever. I'll just talk about it now. I'm fine with another like Warriors game coming. I think that'd be fine, and I'd be happy to have that. And I think there probably will be one. But yeah, I think Age of Calamity could have given the Warriors games a bit more legitimacy, and it didn't, unfortunately. So we'll save the rest of that to when we get to the game itself. But yeah, I feel like I get that. All right, so let's continue here. Number 21 on the list. I'm sure this makes you happy. Staying in place. It was number 21 on the list last year as well. The Adventure of Link, Zelda II.
I love that it says, so another part of the article that's really cool is we have these little stats at the top of each ranking. So it's got like the highest rank was at 7, which is insane to me. But lowest rank is 24, and I'm pretty sure that's me because that's where it is on my list.
You are definitely not the only person that ranked the game last. I'll tell you that.
Okay. I know some people like it. I say this every time. I am so happy for you. It is not my cup of tea. I can't handle this game. I know Andy tells me all the time to try it with Rewind. I just don't have the desire, and I don't think I ever will. So I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's fair. I didn't rank it too much higher than this on my own list either, to be honest. I had it ranked at number 20. Could I assume you had this ranked last place?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I get it. I will say, like, I do think that the game is a completely different experience on NSO. When you have Rewind, it takes away so much of the frustration and just like the negative energy that comes with playing this game, because you can just simply rewind your mistakes. You don't have to start from the Great Palace. That's the single worst thing about this game, I think, is every time you die, having to go all the way back and restart. When you eliminate that, I think it's a much better experience. Although, I mean, I can't say that I think it's like a top tier Zelda game, you know, like I just can't. And not even like because it's on the NES, because it's old, but like it just does a lot of other things that are just really like strange, you know.
Yeah, and I wouldn't go as far as to say it's like a bad game like you did with Triforce Heroes. It's just not my like the style of it. With I don't know what kind of style this is, the side scrolling or whatever. It's just not for me. I don't like the small hitboxes. Even if I was rewinding, I'd be rewinding every 2 seconds. I'd like take a step and die, and then I'd rewind and take a step and die and rewind. Yeah. And that would just be miserable. And I mean, I've gotten to the point where I'm better at like The Legend of Zelda, which has significantly gone up on my list this year.
Yeah.
where I don't have to rewind it too often. And I think the fact that I can do that and I don't have to rewind it too often is like a really good selling point for that game. Whereas this, I would have to rewind it so much. That doesn't sell me, you know? That just tells me it's going to suck either way.
Yeah, like I get that. And I think even taking that aside, like there's some actually Nicole Scott actually fairly succinctly summed up what I was thinking there. Like, and so I'm going to paraphrase what she said there. But you know, taking aside the difficulty and like putting that in context of this game is an old game that came out in the era of Ninja Gaiden and a lot of those the like Ghosts and Goblet, like a lot of those brutal games of the era.
Yeah.
She says, I think it's still fair to knock this entry down many pegs due to its lackluster items, flat in-game story, unforgiving combat, and inaccessibility to the average gamer. I think I agree with the lackluster items and flat in-game story. I mean, unforgiving combat, we talked about, we're going to put that to the side. But yeah, I mean, like, the story is kind of like, yeah, it's okay. And I mean, like, NES games never particularly had, like, a great story to tell, or at least a lot of them didn't. I think that the items in the game, yeah, there's some cool spells, but there's not anything that really is, like, super iconic from the game. I don't know that any of the dungeons really are... Like, you talk about some of the dungeons from Legend of Zelda, and, like, so those are some pretty beloved dungeons. And here you maybe talk about Great Palace, and that's it. So I think that it's always destined.
The most iconic thing from this game is probably Dark Link, right? This is the first time you see Dark Link, and it has followed since. So... I like respect it for that reason. Pretty cool.
I mean, it gave us the palace music too, which is incredible. But yeah, I mean, I can't campaign for the game to be a lot higher than it is, unfortunately. But I can't say that about the next game. Lower. I cannot say that about the next game. Number 20, we have Cadence of Hyrule, which I ranked at number 12 on my list.
Oh wow, yeah, I know that you like to rank it a little bit higher. I have it at number 20 on my list. And I just think it's because I have no musical rhythm. It's just the genre. Like, the game itself and the story is fun. It's the genre for me.
And I think that's fair. Like, it's, I understand why some people don't like it. I don't know, though. People say they don't have rhythm, and I just, like, how do you know? It's just, like, it's rhythm. It's easy. I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird.
We were talking about this when we were talking about music. It doesn't compute in my brain like it does for other people.
I don't know. I feel like I had it in like a minute. It did take me a minute to get it, but like once I had it, and I never, like, it was easy. But yeah, like I get it. Even if you take the rhythm part and put it to the side, I still get it because it's a randomly generated world. So you can't really plan or execute the same way that you can. Yeah. I mean, the story is again, it's pretty lackluster. You have Octavio, the villain, who we had a good time ranking him actually in the Fall Brawl prediction episode, available on patreon.com/SBNet. But I mean, the story is like pretty lame. You know, you've got Cadence in there, who isn't really a Zelda character. I get it. You know, I get it. I mean, I just think the music is so awesome.
The music is really good. I don't want to take away from that. It is a lot of fun.
I think the combat is really fun too.
I would say the combat's cool, and I would say like the story and the bosses I remember more from like the DLC, with the mask, and you're playing as the Skull Kid, like that. But we also did a particular episode about that, so maybe that's why it's more like ingrained in my mind. But like the bosses, like were really sick in that one, and yeah, like it was a good time. I'm just not very good at it. I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering right, you can turn the rhythm off. Like,
yeah, you can, but then like, why are you playing Cadence of Hyrule? You know, which is
cool music.
Like that's kind of the thing. Like, I don't know. Like I don't know. Like a bunch of people were like, well, I can't even move. I can't even do anything. And I don't know. It just doesn't compute for me. I'm like, you move to the beat. You move to the beat.
Our
beat,
brains
beat.
Operate different. Andy, have you ever seen like a group of people, like they're clapping to the beat and then they get off and then they're clapping off of the beat? Like that's how it is for some people.
Yeah, you guys are weird. You guys are weird guys out there. No, I'm being facetious. I get it. Like, it's the game is not for everybody. And to be honest with you, actually, I remember before, or when this game was announced, I went and bought Crypt of the Necromancer. Crypt of the Necro Dancer. And
Which also has really good music.
well, it does, but it didn't have Zelda music, so I wasn't really that into it. And I put it down after like an hour or two, and I was like, I'll just wait for the Cadence game and hope it's better than this.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get it.
Makes
Number
sense.
19, falling a spot from last year from number 18,
Aw.
is Phantom Hourglass. And I gotta say, Elle, it's higher than I ranked it. I ranked it at number 22 on my list. I do unfortunately think that this is one of the weaker Zelda games. It's probably the weakest traditional Zelda game, I think, in my opinion.
Aw, I wouldn't say that. That's sad.
It is sad, yeah. I wish it was better.
I want to say that ever since I played Spirit Tracks, Phantom Hourglass has been slowly dying on my list. Spirit Tracks is just so much better and improves so much. But like, I still have a special place in my heart for Phantom Hourglass. Although Mossy's is like, hey, do you want to do a race of Phantom Hourglass next year for the marathon? And I was like, no, I don't, but I will. But like, I don't know. I think the story is really kind of fun. Like, the villain is not great. I made a joke about Fall Brawl that I was like, Bellum's gonna win the Fall Brawl. But the characters are sweet, like Ciela and Lineback, and I don't know. I dig the story of this. The sailing's not too bad for me. I think it's a fun time because I know how to do the game. You know, like if you don't know what you're doing and you go into the Tower of the Ocean King for the 15th time and you're just so over it, it's not fun. So I understand it. I get it. But for me, like I love it. So it's unfortunately though, ever since I played Spirit Tracks a couple years ago, it's gone really low on my list. It's now at number 13 on my list.
That's crazy high. Yeah, you know, there's a quote here from Rod. Phantom Hourglass is a game that lives and dies by its reliance on the DS touchscreen, and I completely agree with that.
That's fair. That's fair. I get it.
I remember talking to Moss a while, because Moss is a big Phantom Hourglass fan as well. He really likes it, and he's trying to sell me on it. And he's like, well, don't you love how the boomerang works with the touchscreen or the bomb choose? And I'm like, yeah, sure, they're great. And he's like, well, it's got some great dungeons. It's got some great... And all of that is true. It does have some good dungeons.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you don't enjoy moving and playing, it's tough. It's very similar to Cadence of Hyrule for me. Like,
That's
I would rather not play it like that. Mm-hmm. And I think the other thing, because it's a sequel to Wind Waker that works against... You know what my father told me, Al?
Oh, God. What?
You can either be... So if you're a sequel, okay, let's put it in the context of a sequel. You can either be better than what came before you, you could be worse than what came before you, or you could be different than what came before you, okay? Mm-hmm. I don't think that... So if I was Nintendo, I would have went different than, which is what Spirit Tracks does. Mm-hmm. However, Phantom Hourglass chose not to be different than, so it only had two options. It was either going to be better than the Wind Waker, or it's going to be lesser than the Wind Waker. And obviously, it's not better. So, like, that's... Yeah. I feel like that works against it, too, you know?
Yeah, but I still wouldn't call it, like, the weakest Zelda game, because, like, it does have, like, a lot of, like, the conceptually good things that a Zelda game has. Like, good dungeons, good bosses, good items. I think the maneuvering of the items is really cool, but I agree. If you are not down to play on the DS with moving that way with the stylus, you're not going to like this game. I get it. That I understand why it's so low on the list. I wouldn't call it a weak Zelda game just because it has bad movement. I would just say that it really hinders people enjoying it.
Well, like I said, Triforce Heroes is the only game that I would say is a bad Zelda game. So, I mean, it's not a bad game at all. It's still a fun game to play. But in terms of, like, I mean, we're talking about some greats in the series. I think it's weaker than almost everything. There's one other game that I might say is weaker than Phantom Hourglass, which I ranked right beside it. No points for guessing what that is. We'll talk about it in just a second.
Okay.
But before we get there, next on our list, number 18, Age of Calamity. So Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity falls a little bit from last year. It went from 16 to 18. Yeah, you know what? This is a weird one for me, because I do think Age of Calamity is a fun game. I really do. And I actually ranked it a little bit higher on my list. I have it ranked at number 16. I just, it really does just kind of leave a bad taste in your mouth, though, with that story, which is what was promised for us, which, I mean, to be fair, isn't necessarily the fault of the game. itself,
It's the
like,
fault of the marketing
yeah.
of the people who created the game.
Well, and I'm sure that the developers had nothing to do with the marketing, right? But yeah, I mean, nonetheless, like it does leave a bad taste in your mouth. But I will say this game is infinitely more fun than Hyrule Warriors for me, because even if it is like a weird side story alternate universe, at least that feels to me like you have more purpose doing what you're doing than Hyrule Warriors. That's the worst thing about Hyrule Warriors is it feels a lot of times like there's no purpose to just mashing up all of these different enemies and stuff like that.
Story to Hyrule Warriors, and it has a very succinct, like, Zelda-esque story. It just has different characters that you don't know about. They're very Hyrule Warriors characters.
Well, that's what I mean. Like it doesn't feel like a Zelda story though. I guess is my
It
point.
is a Zelda story. What are you talking about? It has.
Okay, who's the main villain?
Well, I can't remember her name, but
Exactly. Her name is Sia, and she's a weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's obsessed with Link, and then she's puppeteered by Ganondorf. So you fight Ganondorf in the end, and you fight Ganon's like beast form in the end, and you fight a bunch of like different Zelda villains. You recruit a bunch of Zelda heroes from different like timelines. It totally has like a good Zelda story.
I don't agree with that.
And then you learn that Sia and Lana are like the same person, but they got split, and
right.
Like, and
then
they
my
have this,
point
like,
is
touching
it's
moment.
it's not like it feels like a Dynasty Warrior story. It's silly. It feels like Fire Emblem. It doesn't feel like Zelda. Where say what you will about Age of Calamity, at least it feels like a Zelda story to me.
Throw Linkle in there. Linkle's great.
I've got no qualms with Linkle. I'm telling you, that is my feeling for the Hyrule Warriors story. And whatever. I mean, if you love it, that's great, but it doesn't feel Zelda to me. This one does feel Zelda to me, but it still does have some of the same things that work against it, which is the repetitiveness. I will say though, I did like at least there's some stuff to do. You can find Koroks, when you're out and about. But this one for me again kind of lives and dies by that marketing, and there's no taking it back.
Which is so sad because it is a fun game. And then also like the DLC being really lackluster also didn't help. But I also ranked it at 16 on my list. It has fallen like 8 points since it was released for me because like it was fun to play. The recency bias kept it up on my list, and then every year that I kept thinking about how irritated I was by the marketing, the more it's gone down. It is fun to play. I don't know if I'll ever touch it again though, so that's why it's going to keep going lower.
I definitely won't touch it because I think I got 100%. I got the Hyrule Warrior blue scarf, so I mean I must have, right? I think that was it. But I didn't get 100% on the DLC. But what my point that I was making earlier when we were talking about Hyrule Warriors is I think Age of Calamity was a big improvement over the first Hyrule Warriors. So I would be fine to have them take another shot at the Hyrule Warriors idea. Because I think if they could improve to the same degree over Age of Calamity as they did from the first game to the second, I think the third game could be really cool. It depends on the setting.
If we were talking about like Age of Upheaval or whatever, like the war before the imprisoning war or whatever, that we've been tossing around that idea, which would be fun. But I don't know. I would kind of like to move away, I think, from this era of Zelda that we've been in from the Switch games.
I think so, too.
So I would be okay with them going with a completely different route.
I would, too. I don't know what that would look like. Maybe we'll do a show on that at some point in the year and see, what our thoughts would be. I still am, like, I just get the feeling that there's another one of these coming, though. I really do. So, well, we'll see. Moving on the list, we have number 17, Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks. So this game has fallen a couple points from last year. It was number 15 on the list and falls to number 17. Copy and paste everything I said about Phantom Hourglass, except for the different than part. This game did at least try and be different than its predecessors, which is great. I do like the train gimmick. I think it's fun. I think Malladus is a cool boss. Cool. Like, there is cool stuff going on in this game. It just, like Rod said, it lives and dies by its reliance on the DS touchscreen. And it's not for me. I wish that we could just play these games with like a Joy-Con or a Joypad or joystick is what I'm trying to say. Joypad. What year is it?
I get it. Joypad. I'm a little bummed by how low this is on the list because I actually think this is a really, really solid Zelda game. Aside from like the the design of using the stylus, but it's definitely way more improved from Phantom Hourglass, even though it came out really quickly after. I feel like the dungeons are better, the bosses are better, the central focus not being like the Tower of the Ocean King, it's the Tower of Spirits. Tower of the Ocean King, you all know what I'm talking about. But like the Tower of Spirits, it differentiates itself because it's like different levels. Instead of returning to the same levels over and over and over again to progress, you go to a different level every time. I do think it definitely gets harder, and like Tower 5 and 6 are rough, but I also think that they're like really clever puzzles. So when you do figure it out, it's like I feel so accomplished when I do those levels because they're rough. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think the story is a little bit better. The villain is a little bit more, has more, you understand his motives a little bit better. You get to play in, like, teamwork with Zelda, which is so cool. She is so awesome in this game. And, like, she's cute. She's funny. She does a lot of great stuff. Yeah, and I just love this game a lot. So, and Burn, like, having his little redemption arc is really cool. So, yeah, there's a lot of positives. I put this at number 11. It almost cracks my top 10 Zelda games.
You know who, Sam and I were doing the Fall Brawl yesterday, and I was showing her Chancellor Cole. She's like, he looks like an evil version of the Monopoly Man. And I was like, damn.
I love it. I love that everybody looks at him and is like, he's wearing two hats. He's clearly covering horns. Like, what are we doing, Hyrule?
Yeah, that's good stuff. I like Chancellor Cole too. I like the story here. I will say, so I had this ranked pretty low. It's ranked at number 21 on my list.
Okay.
For the same reasons that Phantom Hourglass is ranked. You know what? Here's another thing that we don't talk about enough with Spirit Tracks though. There's really not a lot of exploration. I mean, you go on the train and you go. That's just your route is set basically.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't mind in the game, but someone pointed out, Nick pointed it out on this list that it was a big deal for him, and I totally agree with that actually. I personally didn't mind it because I don't like movement on the DS game, so like I'm just like, all right, if you want to take me to where I need to go, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see that being a big deal for a lot of people because I mean that's something the Zelda series was built on is exploration, going and seeing, discovering what's on the horizon. So yeah, that's another big one. Hey everyone, if you enjoyed this clip and want to see more of the Zelda Cast, make sure to head over to your favorite podcast platform of choice and subscribe. There are over 200 episodes in the vault that will provide you with hundreds of hours of Zelda content for you to enjoy. You can listen to us when you're on a walk, fighting Ganon, trying to sleep, whatever. And if you want to see these shows as they happen, make sure to head over to twitch.tv/The Zelda Cast, where you can watch our beautiful faces talk about Zelda every single week. Don't miss out, and we'll see you next time.